Malcolm was our fat baby. He was a big, fat butterball baby. I remember when he first started walking, we were in Piscataway in a small apartment, and it was like a racetrack for him. From the time we got home until eventually he just passed out, all he did was just run up and down around the kitchen. It's like a track he had, and he'd just run until he just, couldn't run anymore.
So we can go out and eat somewhere. We got a lot of private jokes this year. Lisa, Angela, Pamela, Renee.
Grew up in Piscataway, New Jersey, middle-class town, the oldest of 3 boys. We did normal things like play football in the streets. So when all my friends who usually been playing football in the streets at that point, all of us got signed up to play, organized football, Pop Warner, and I hated it. And practice was, hard. I didn't understand why my coaches were yelling at me and making me take laps. I didn't enjoy it. During the games, I would only get the 7 mandatory plays that every kid has to get, and then I would get out. So my favorite part of game day was when the game was over, getting my free hot dog and juice at the concession stand.
I had to explain to them, you're not going to be very good your first year, and they weren't. They were terrible.
Malcolm wanted to quit early on. His father kind of took him back in, didn't want him to quit. I don't think he really thought highly of himself in terms of the potential he had early on.
I remember with Pop Warner, I had a coach that just flat out told me I'd never be any good. And it wasn't until I was in the 6th grade that I started enjoying it a little bit. I played defensive end, and I think 7th grade I moved to linebacker, and then by the 8th grade I was playing running back and linebacker. And at that point I started growing a little bit and started understanding the game a little bit more.
And it was funny for me because it was like he was resisting playing for some time, and then all of a sudden it clicked and he enjoyed it.
You could tell when it started to click, he just became a tackling machine. Literally every tackle he would make. And then on offense, he's playing running back. So when he got it, that's when, everything started to blossom.
Last year, right? Congratulations.
I heard when he was younger that he was a good player in Pop Warner. There's no doubt about that. But this town has been blessed with a lot of talent, so I wasn't especially thinking I got an NFL player coming. I just thought, all right, another good player I'm looking forward to having. Actually, in freshman year, he really couldn't get on the field much other than special teams, and that became his way of making plays and doing what he did best. When he was a sophomore here, there were several Division I players, and every single day in practice, he was trying to prove that he was better than them. It's that super competitiveness, that intensity level that he had, but it's also intelligence. Malcolm knew every single thing. We do walkthroughs, and he'd be telling us anything that we missed on walkthroughs. You can't put a cap on how far you can go when you have some talent, the conviction of doing the work necessary, and that competitiveness where he would just want to go against the very best all the time and prove who he was on every single play. It's always chip on the shoulder, work hard, study so I'm ready and totally prepared, and then bring it on, because whoever is coming at me, I'm gonna take you out. Back then, there wasn't the recruiting services that exist today, so he wasn't a guy that we had every school in the country coming here for.
I never even considered myself good enough to play college ball. I just loved the game and played just to play it. At that point in time, Rutgers University, that was the only school that offered me, and they're literally 5 minutes away from where I played. My aunt moved to Westerville, Ohio, and we decided we were gonna go visit her for 2 weeks. And so while we were there, just to give us something to do, my parents put me and my brother to Ohio State's football camp.
At this point, he wasn't getting noticed. Ohio State was one of the teams that they weren't initially interested in. They didn't know about him.
It's like, what could the kids do while we're there? Ohio State is 10 minutes from my sister's house. Okay, sign them up.
It was really good fortune for Ohio State that Malcolm Jenkins came to our summer youth camp. Unannounced, we had probably 4,000 kids over the course of 3 weeks, kids running all over the place. Well, one of the coaches grabbed me and said, "Hey, you gotta come over and watch this guy." I said, "Well, who is he?" Because there were a lot of guys we invited to camp. "Which guy is he?" "Well, we don't know anything about him, but you watch him."
They had these one-on-one drills we were doing with wide receiver DBs.
So I went over to his drill, and it was a one-on-one drill with quarterbacks, receivers, and corners.
And I started kind of in a line where I didn't feel like the guys were that talented. And so after I kind of shut down everybody there, I moved to the next line.
And he's just locking down everybody. And then when he'd get done, he'd go back to the front of the line and push everyone aside and go again.
Some of the DBs would hesitate to go with some of the better receivers, so I just cut them.
And then he'd go find the best receiver, might be a guy we were recruiting, and he'd go lock him down.
When it was my turn, I just competed. I wasn't trying to earn a scholarship, wasn't trying to impress anybody. I just wanted to compete.
And I said, we got to find out who this guy is.
He pulled me to the side and he's like, yeah, you might be the best corner, in the nation.
And before he left campus, we offered him a scholarship. We didn't know if he was 9-star, 2-star, 3-star, it didn't matter.
And I left that camp with a scholarship offer. People think that I, went and it was just like I grasped the moment and prepared myself. I was just playing ball. And so when I got there as a freshman, people say, you're a 3-star recruit, you're gonna go there, ride the bench for 4 years. But for me, I'm like, it's Ohio State, which means I'll be going against the best every day. They play all of these huge games, so I'll be going against the best talent in the country. That sounds like where I wanna be. I wanna compete against the best.
Lobs it long, and the right side intercepted Jenkins at his own 45. Jenkins left side to the 50, to the 40 of Penn State, down the sideline to the 30, to the 20, Jenkins, to the 10, to the house.
We used to come out right about here. We link arms and kind of do our little stuff before we hit the field. I've been gone for like 10 years, so to come out and for fans to still be yelling Malcolm and stuff, it kind of reminds me of when I was a freshman on the field.
It's my pleasure to introduce Malcolm Jenkins.
When I was in high school, I was a 3-star recruit. Only reason Ohio State even got me here is because I showed up at one of their 4-day camps in the summer because I kind of fell in their lap. And I had a ton of people saying, man, you're not going to start, you're going to sit on the bench for 4 years, and that's going to be that. And I said, nah, my biggest thing is, well, if Ohio State is where the best is, then that's where I want to be. And that was my mentality. So when I showed up and there was opportunities to compete, I'm jumping in line. And when you step up here, every time you step on the grass is a chance to compete and prove yourself. And for all of y'all trying to make a name for yourselves, regardless if you're a starter or you're at the bottom of the roster, make your name right now. That's how you get to where I'm at. I compete at every single level, whether it's in the classroom, it's on the field, it's in business. I'm gonna beat whoever's in front of me, believe that.
Well, Malcolm Jenkins, as you know, is business. He didn't care whether or not anyone knew his name. He's there to do a job. But preparation and mentally and intensity, that's what puts him a cut above. There was a tradition of preparation at Ohio State. Malcolm carried on that tradition and maybe then some. He was not going to be outdone. He was not going to be outworked. Every free moment he was in the film room.
When I got to college, I already enjoyed watching tape, but I think one of the most impactful things when it came to film was like learning how to evaluate myself. I said, I want to win a Jim Thorpe. I want to be the best DB Ohio State's ever seen. And so I started seeing, well, if I want to be great and be the best, then I got to not only do this, but do it better.
I remember one time he picked off a jailbreak screen and he took it back to the house. And I remember him talking in the post game. He said, I knew exactly by the split of the guy that was going to do the blocking that's the play that was coming up because I'd studied them so hard. And I can't recall who it was against, but I bet you if you ask him, he would know who that was against.
It was Penn State.
And what the split difference was.
It was into the boundary on the left sideline. I knew it was going to be a quick throw, and I was where the receiver was supposed to be because I've seen him run the route 1,000 times.
You know, you just smiled because it was nothing the coaches did. It was his preparation, and that's what makes him so good, and that's why he's got Super Bowl rings from 2 different teams.
When the draft came, he wanted to do something small with family and friends, and I kind of had a family and friends of about 200 people.
I wanted to just watch it in the backyard, but my mom put together this whole big event with a program and everything.
The coaches spoke, Pop Warner, high school coaches, his brothers came up with a rap song, and it was really nice.
The New Orleans Saints select Malcolm.
And then I got, the call that I was going to be sent to the New Orleans Saints. So we won a Super Bowl my rookie year, come out of the gate on an all-time high, make the playoffs the next 2 years. And then 2012, it just didn't work out. We were the worst defense in NFL history. I think we gave it the most yards ever. Pro Football Focus rated me like the worst safety in the league. At that point in time, I started really doubting myself as a player, just kind of doubting the trajectory of my career. The season ended and just never heard anything. And so when free agency opened, I was like, well, I guess I'm going somewhere else. And literally within seconds of free agency opened up, the Eagles called. And so I was excited when I got here. It definitely added to the chip I had on my shoulder. Even coming and hearing the Eagles fans talk about, how they wanted other people when the other safeties. I knew it was an opportunity for me to kind of recreate where I was going as a player and where my career was going.
For the Philadelphia Eagles.
In college and with the Saints and with the Eagles, the experience of who is this Malcolm Jenkins guy, we could have done better. He saw that. Who is this? Why didn't we pick so-and-so? And when we came to the Eagles, it was, why didn't we get Bird? So he's been through that a few times, having to show who he is.
Malcolm Jenkins somehow comes up with it. Wow.
It's intercepted by Jenkins. Cuts back at the 30. Jenkins takes it in for a touchdown.
Wherever he went, they were going to get somebody who was driven to winning and would do what needs to be done. And ultimately, they were going to win another Super Bowl. That's the single focus. He wants to win.
Not everyone is like Malcolm Jenkins. He has a passion for football. He loves that game, he loves that city, but he wasn't going to limit himself to just being a football player. You get into the NFL and you're getting all that adulation and all that money, and you can just do whatever you want to do. What he wants to do is to do for others. Everyone else is taking Tuesday off to lick their wounds. He's traveling with a group of guys to go to the NFL and talk about how the NFL can be a better difference maker. That's what makes him so special.
What fuels me is just, a desire to give back. Everything to me it seems bigger than me. I never want to be somebody who was given a whole lot and could have made a huge impact but just didn't because I was too selfish or too lazy. For me, I'm constantly driven by that desire to have a real impact. On the field or in anything else, I'm driven by competition. I want to be remembered as the best safety to ever put on the Eagles green, but also I want to be known as one of the most influential, not only Eagles, but athletes that's blessed the city. And so hopefully, I can be an example of just how much athletes can embody and how much there is out there for athletes to affect not only the game and their team, but entire communities and in turn this world.